Madam Web. Released February 14, 2024. Directed by S.J. Clarkson. Written by Matt Sazama, Burke Sharpless, and Claire Parker. Starring Dakota Johnson and Tahar Rahim. Rotten Tomatoes score, 14%. IMDb, 3.8 out of 10. Metacritic, 29. Welcome back to Real Reviews. I am your host Lee, back again to talk about Madam Web. I walked into this movie expecting an absolute train wreck of a movie. Every review I saw the opening to was super negative. Lines like, worst movie of all time, getting tossed around. Let's rip the band-aid off. Is Madam Web good? Not particularly. Is it the worst movie of all time? No, not at all. Do I think reviewers got it right? Maybe. I mean, this movie does have loads of issues, there is no questioning that. I think fans got it right, with a 3.8 on IMDb and a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like that is a much better range, but that is the benefit of thousands of reviews versus less than 200. Okay, I'm going to go straight into some spoilers. I kinda have to really set this movie up and talk about some key points. Is this the hero origin of Madam Web, Spider-Woman, Arachne, and Spider-Girl? No. By the end we have wheelchair-bound, blind, astral projecting, future-telling Madam Web, and that is it. This was a movie clearly designed to build off of. It is pre-Spider-Man. Ben Parker is Cassandra aka Madam Web's partner as a paramedic. His sister-in-law Mary is about to give birth to her son Peter. They introduce the power-giving spider and basically say that it just universally gives powers, no genetic modifications required. We see people in their suits but only in visions of the future, and we see a few short moments of them having natural skills, but the trailer did it a terrible disservice even showing them fully in costume. The writing is all over the place, along with the pacing. There is a scene that absolutely infuriated me, and I will get to that in just a moment. So the story breakdown so we can talk about what doesn't work. Cassandra Webb, New York paramedic who gets in an accident, and it activates her latent powers of future sight that she has because her mom was bitten by the super spider just before Cassandra was born. The villain Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahar Rahim, murdered Cassandra's mother and is hunting down Julia, Anya, and Maddie, who he keeps getting visions of them murdering him, because after he stole said super spider from the Amazon he is cursed. Yes, this movie gets weirdly mystical but never leans super hard into it. Cassandra is trying to protect the girls because she realizes that she can change the future if she takes direct actions to do so. Ezekiel is chasing them down using NSA cameras similar to what we see Batman do in The Dark Knight. They basically state that cameras are super great and all over the place in 2003, and all connected to networks, which is wild in my opinion because nothing else in this world is super ahead of its time except for the cameras. But given that, somehow no one sees Ezekiel on camera ever. Cassandra and the girls get away, as she takes them to a more rural area in Jersey. This is where something happens that really pisses me off. While Cassandra is away to see what she can find out, the girls go to a diner and a guy in the diner has a newspaper that talks about them being kidnapped. This is within a few hours of Cassandra rescuing them from a subway in New York City. How in the heck did a newspaper get printed and sent out in less than 6 hours? This is the first time where they really fail with the story. Because this would have been simple to explain since they showed the diner being a place where truckers stop, and they could have just had him hear it over his radio before he walks in. But no, they went with the impossible choice. Later there is another impossible choice that as someone who is in the medical field it always pisses me off. They used an AD to electrocute an ambulance to defend themselves. Looks cool and all, but that isn't even remotely how they work. Heck, I was getting trained on AEDs around the time this movie is supposed to be taking place. The writing makes all sorts of weird choices that make it feel pretty ridiculous, and honestly this affects the pacing because they are trying to shoehorn in this Peter Parker is about to be born story as well, which it didn't need. It also really didn't need all of the girls either. Just one would have been enough because we never get enough time with any one of them to really get to know them. They don't function very well as a group. They don't seem to bounce off each other in terms of acting, like the chemistry just wasn't there. Okay, the acting. Dakota Johnson, in my opinion, is doing a good job when she is on screen with someone else, but she had to have been going mad because they had to film the same scenes numerous times just to make her have the future sight. She even comments that most of this movie is done on a blue screen, so she was acting against a blank screen, and you can tell. She does what she can, but a lot of issues were obvious on the screen. Tahar Rahim overacted every scene he was in. Like, I know sometimes actors do this, and it makes their performance good, but from the first scene he was in I knew he was going to be almost unbearable, and many of the most poorly acted scenes are him. Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, and Celeste O'Connor don't have enough lines to really get a good sense of them. I did find Sydney almost painful to watch act. I'm going to give her credit and say that is exactly how she was told to be, but it was bad. Adam Scott as Ben Parker is okay, but he basically isn't in the movie. This movie is just under 2 hours and could have 15 to 30 minutes cut, and it would have the exact same feeling. They spent so much time on the "hey look she can see the future" thing, and literally all of it could have been cut and it wouldn't have changed much. Some of the scenes are there literally just to highlight something for later on, but they are so heavy-handed in these scenes that just take them out and nothing meaningful would change. I didn't notice anything super bad about any of the CG. Like everything I didn't like about it, like the hazy frames around some things that are visions but not other things, was really bad. But that was a choice someone made. I didn't catch any odd artifacting or anything crazy like that. This movie is a mess. It feels like it had loads of development issues and writing issues. Honestly, when you see several writers for a movie, you can probably just bet that the writing will be all over the place, and you will likely be right. But it certainly isn't the worst. I'd give it a 3.5 or 4 out of 10. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. Next week, depending on how it is released, I might talk about Avatar. Or depending on how short it is, I might be talking about Skull and Bones. But like always, I will have at least 2 videos out next week. Until next time.